Hello, and welcome to our third installment of these sessions of Ask the Archbishop that were put to me by students at L'Ecole Heritage in Falher. This session bears a bit more on me personally and on my life as a priest and a bishop. The question as it is here says, at what age did you start your ministry? Well, you know, when I think about my life as a priest, this all began when I was very young. I was only 16 years old when I went to what we now would then call a minor seminary. It was a high school. It was a high school for boys who were thinking about maybe becoming priests. We were too young and could not become priests then, of course. But I started at age 16, and so that's when I began the journey to the priesthood. My ministry, of course, in terms of ordained ministry, only began when I was ordained a deacon. Now, in the church, we have this sacrament. One of the 7 sacraments is the sacrament that we call holy orders. Sometimes we'll call it the sacrament of priesthood, but it's actually holy orders because there are 3 different levels of this sacrament: deacon, priest, and bishop. And you have to pass through one to get to the next. So in my case, I mean, we do have in the church now people who are permanent deacons. They're deacons their whole life, and well, their whole life, I mean, after they are ordained deacons. But in my case, I was a deacon and then went on to become a priest. So I was a deacon when I was about 26 years old, and I became a priest when I was 27. So that's really when my ministry began. The ministries of deacon, priest, and bishop are very different from one another. That's too complex to go into in this session. But suffice it to say that each of those is a very different ministry in the church. And so in order to become a deacon or a priest, I had to present myself. I went to a seminary and I said, you know, I think God is calling me to be a priest. And so they said, okay, well, why don't you come with us and we'll see how you do at this. And so a certain amount of this was, you know, in studies, and it takes a lot of years of study to become a priest. But it's more than just studies. It's not just academic. It's learning how to be a priest, how to be a minister in the church. So that takes many years to learn how to do that. After I was ordained a priest, I had many different types of ministry that I was involved in. Most of us, when we think about priests, we probably think about priests being involved in parish ministry. That is the most fundamental, but there are some priests who will specialize in other areas as well. So I became a priest, and I did many, many different things in my years as a priest. Not all of them were working in parishes. I did lots of other different things. You present yourself, as I say, to be a deacon or a priest, but you cannot present yourself to be a bishop. Bishops are made in a different way. When the church needs a bishop, the church, mostly through the Pope's representative in the country, the papal nuncio, when they see that there's need for a bishop somewhere, the papal nuncio is going to start an investigation to find out who would be a suitable candidate to be a bishop. It has to be a priest, so they will begin looking around the country and seeing now who among the priests shows the kind of leadership, the kind of life, the kind of teaching that he could be made a bishop. And so you don't apply for that. Sometimes people will ask me, you know, what made you want to become a bishop? And I say, well, I didn't want to be a bishop. You don't present yourself as a bishop. You don't even know. I did not know that they were even considering me when I received the call from the papal nuncio saying that the Pope, it was Pope Benedict XVI at the time, who wanted me to become a bishop. And so there was nothing that I was doing. I was just being the best priest I could be, and somehow this caught the attention, I guess, of somebody, and so they wanted me to become a bishop. Why did I want to do all this in the first place? Do you know, when I was a young lad, I really wanted to become a Mountie. That was a bit of a dream that I had. I had a great admiration for the RCMP, and thought that would be a good thing to do with my life. As I was living through my teenage years, I got more involved in the youth group at our parish, and that put me sort of in church more. And I found as I was in church more, the more it intrigued me, the more I found myself thinking about being a priest and thinking less of being a policeman. And so in the end, I did enter the seminary. You know, if you were to ask me, so why did you want to do this? In the end, I'd have to say, it was because I sensed that that's what God wanted for me. And I had this belief that if God wanted it for me, that it'd be the best thing for me. That's what I would really want to do, would be to become a priest. And that God would not want me to do something that would be bad for me or would be harmful, that in fact what God would want me to do is the best thing in my life. It's not for everybody, but the best thing in my life. And it indeed has been that. A lot of times people ask, you know, is it hard to be a priest? Is it a difficult life? Is it lonely? You know, there have been moments of loneliness, but let's be honest, every life has some loneliness. We'll never be able to escape the sense of loneliness in our life, no matter what we do. As we know, Roman Catholic priests are not married, and so it does mean embracing a celibate life, but it's not a life without love. I have loved many people, and I have been loved by many people. I think maybe especially because I was a priest. Because I was a priest, that people loved me. They appreciated my ministry to them. They appreciated that very much. They found me a person that they could welcome instantly, not just into their home, but into their heart. And so, as this was happening, there was a sense in my life that this is very fulfilling. This is a beautiful life, and it has been that. And so I would say that you know, basically I was trying to follow God's will in my life, and God's will is going to be different for everybody, but I was trying to find God's will in my life, and so I followed that, and I have no regrets whatsoever of that. I'm coming to in a few years. I'll be at retirement age as a bishop. I'll always be a bishop. Once you're a deacon, you're always a deacon. When you're a priest, you're always a priest. When you're a bishop, you're always a bishop. But I will not always have responsibility as a bishop. Once you reach 75, the church says you should be able to retire. So I'm awaiting retirement now in a few years. But I'll always be a bishop. I'll always be a priest. There will always be priestly things that I will search out to do in my life until the day I die. So anyway, that's me and my life in ministry. This is the last of this particular series. Thank you for joining us. We will continue with the other episodes of Ask the Archbishop. Thank you.